Hey there, we are back in action here on the Baseline View. Mizzou and Auburn tip in an hour on ESPN2. That means I spend the next hour with you guys talking Missouri basketball. And based on the chat comments I'm reading and some of the viewers I see we have, the most anticipated part of this show by far is the JG Tate special appearance. That will happen at about 7:10. About 8 minutes into the show, we're going to bring JG on for a little bit, talk a little Auburn basketball, and see what else happens. Got a lot of people who are here for Jay, so that is good to know. Maybe I should just have Jay on every show. Maybe I'll have Jay on Saturday to preview Mizzou and TCU. We'll see how it all goes, but tonight, Mizzou and Auburn, so it actually made some sense to have Jay on. We're going to do that in a few minutes. After Jay, we'll hear from Mizzou assistant coach Chris Hollander, who did the media appearance for the Tigers, actually from, I think they were in Atlanta when he did that yesterday. And then we'll bring Mitchell Forty on toward the end of the show like we always do. We will get you set for this one. And for Missouri, well, I mean, really for both teams, and there's not that many games, so to call any game a big game is kind of redundant. They're all big games. But for Missouri particularly, this game is certainly big as the Missouri Tigers, that would be, come in at 4-2 in the SEC. They are in second place in the conference. It's kind of weird because everybody's played a different number of games and all that. Alabama is 8-0. They've got a 2.5, 3-game lead as you kind of add up everything. Missouri's in second. Tennessee, LSU, some people are right behind. And hey, we've got our first super chat in of the night from Love the Cats. Don't know if that is an Auburn fan here for JG. Maybe it's a Kentucky fan, but they're playing Alabama right now. But certainly appreciate it. Love the Cats. Thanks for checking us out and watching. We got a lot of G-Pits listeners in here. Alpha Tiger misses the pantry. It's back there, man. It's just right behind this right here. I've got the spices if I need to go get them, and we can do that. Put a little, I don't know, cumin in the middle of the show, something like that. Georgia Rebels want to know about Chris Hollander. Is he from Illinois? He is from Illinois. I believe he's from Mattoon, Illinois. So Georgia Rebel, I don't know if that's where you're from, but that's the guy. He's coached at Army. He's coached at Evansville. Kanzo Martin hired him. I think when he got here 4 years ago. I think this is Hollander's fourth year on the staff. So, yeah, he is one of Missouri's assistants, and there you go. I will let him know that Georgia Rebel played with him in high school. Love the Cats clarifies he is certainly an Auburn fan. So glad to have a Pocket Watch does not appear to be a fan. So, hey, that's all right. We welcome everybody. Good posters, bad posters. We all have our moments. Breakfast King, certainly not a fan of Mattoon. I have driven through. I'm getting clarification on this from Georgia Rebel. Mattoon. Mattoon? That's weird. I don't like it. I'm going to continue to call it Mattoon. I have driven through it on the way to Indianapolis, maybe? I don't know. That doesn't make much sense. I don't know. I drove through it on the way to somewhere with Mitchell Forty and Alex Schiffer, so I was obviously on the way to Purdue. That's what it was, on the way to cover the football game at Purdue, maybe. That's where I went through Mattoon, Illinois, hometown of Chris Hollander. I'm not going to call it that. I'm just going to let you know I'm not going to call it that. So appreciate all the Missouri fans, Auburn fans, whoever, maybe even some Ole Miss and Georgia fans in here. Appreciate that. And we will get you set for this game. For Auburn, look, you guys can tell me differently. We're going to talk to JG about Auburn. This is a lot about Sharif Cooper and what he has done in the 5 games. I saw that Auburn is favored by 2.5 points. That actually doesn't surprise me. I think Auburn has a really good chance to win this game. Not only because I think Auburn's a pretty good team with Sharif Cooper on the floor, but also because Missouri just played this huge game on Saturday in Knoxville. they didn't even come back home. What they did is they played in Knoxville. Then they, I guess, bust down to Auburn. Might have flown to Auburn. I don't know how they got there, but they were in Atlanta yesterday, went straight to Auburn, so they didn't come back to Columbia. It's their second, kind of the back-to-back of 2 straight road games. That's a tough thing, and this team, I'll be interested to see if they're mature enough and have grown up and can kind of handle coming back and playing a game that, look, they're not favored in, but it's a toss-up game. I think Missouri thus far this season has been a little bit better of a team than Auburn, has had better results. But again, since Sharif Cooper hit the floor, Auburn's been pretty good. And it sounds good to say, let's just hold down Sharif Cooper and we'll do well. Well, nobody's held down Sharif Cooper. I think there was one game he had 11 points and 8 assists, and that's as close as anybody's come to holding him down. He's 21 points, 9 assists, 4.5 rebounds a game. I mean, you almost have to let him get his and make sure some of the other guys don't beat you. Love the Cats is very concerned for me. I don't know how much older I look than the last time you watched me, but yeah, I age gracefully a little bit every day. T-Rise explains to me that my volume's a little high. So sorry, sometimes I talk loud, but B, I also have kind of a radio TV voice, so I will try to tone that down and talk in a more normal tone of voice for you guys. I enjoy the chat comments, wondering how long it was going to take me to mention a certain NFL football team. I don't have those. I'm not doing it intentionally. I'm not doing it because I saw the comments before we started the show, so I wanted whoever bet the under to lose. I don't know what you guys are betting in the chat, but I wanted you to lose. So what I'm actually going to do now, we have burned a lot of time, and we haven't really even talked about basketball at all. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to dial up our friend JG Tate on my Skype machine, and we are actually going to talk a little bit of basketball. So I don't know, you may hear some noise in the background and all that while we wait for Jay to pick up and be on the line. And hey, there is my friend JG Tate. Look, I even have his name on the screen and everything. We're prepared for all this. What's up, man?
Hi, Gabriel. It is wonderful to see you again. I feel like I just talked to you yesterday.
I know. We should just make this a daily thing. I'll Skype you every day. We'll just hang out for a little bit.
I know some people that probably would be good with that, actually.
Yeah. We have a lot of people. We have a lot of people in our comments that were really excited for you to come on the show.
I didn't feel like my Q score among the Power Mizzou folks was high, but it is what it is.
One guy said he was here only for the JG appearance, so I believe he is going to watch the next 15 minutes of the show and then completely tune me out and pay no attention the rest of the evening.
That's probably one of my guys from auburnsports.com. I love you guys, by the way.
It's possible. I think it was I think actually that was a Mizzou poster that said that, because I recognize him from some of our other videos. But we do have a lot of your Auburn guys here. So look, I just said maybe we'll just have you on every night. Like, you could come on Saturday and preview Mizzou TCU. You prepared for that?
No, but I would be on your show anytime. I love basketball. It's like my first passion, really. So I grew up a Louisville fan, believe it or not, even though I graduated from Kentucky.
And then turned into a Kentucky fan.
Yeah, early on. I mean, years and years ago. It's probably 25 years ago now. I do want to say before we get going, one of my friends died today. Sekou Smith, who covers the NBA for Turner Sports. Yeah, you guys might have followed him if you were an NBA fan, the Hang Time podcast. And former Mississippi State beat writer for the Jackson Clarion Ledger, SEC guy. And back in the days when we had SEC teleconferences, he would have these back and forths, polite, funny ones, with Rick Stansberry, who was the basketball coach at Mississippi State at the time. And, man, it was must view. It was like, next question comes from Sekou Smith. And hey, Sekou, how you doing, brother? I'm doing good, coach. Hey, man, I want to ask about your mother. How did she choose the car? Or what was she, and it was like, Rick didn't understand that maybe the conversations they were the banal conversations they were having, maybe didn't need to be on the SEC teleconference, but Sekou was always real friendly about it. Like, she went ahead and chose the Chevy. That's the one I thought would be best for her. I'm so happy.
So he was like a little Bob Holt before Bob Holt was Bob Holt, man.
He was only on the beat for like a couple years.
Yeah.
He was destined for much bigger things, but yeah.
I'm sad to hear that, man. That's terrible.
Yeah, and he was our age. Well, I'm sorry, he was my age. He's 48. So.
Wow.
Yeah, that's tough. But he was nothing but a joy, man. He was just a fun, happy, just awesome dude.
So not to no easy way to transition from death to Mizzou Auburn basketball, obviously.
Sure.
But speaking of joy, Sharif Cooper, he's probably fun to watch, huh?
He's bringing joy to Auburn fans near and far. He's a tremendous basketball player. He's good at everything but one thing. His 3-point shooting not so good. But,
okay.
And I think that could be a limiting factor for him going forward. There's a lot of speculation that he would leave after this half year because he only got cleared maybe 4 games ago.
Yeah. So why did that happen? What was the deal?
Well, it's never really been clarified. I mean, I always felt like, first of all, BP has a difficult relationship, complicated relationship with the NCAA, and so I always feel like the NCAA is looking for things to get on him about. Mm-hmm. And Sharif comes from a family that has money. And Sharif is himself a 5-star recruit. And I think it's easy to look at him if you don't know what's going on and say, oh, well, I bet he got paid because he drives this car or he wears these clothes or because he lives this lifestyle. Not paying attention to the fact that his dad makes money, that his sister is a WNBA player. She is married to Dwight Howard. I mean, the family has money. And I just think it took a while for both sides to figure that out.
Okay. Now, I'm disturbed by this. Is it possible that there are college basketball players who have been paid to play college basketball?
Oh,
because I thought it was an amateur sport.
Yeah, you're funny, Gabe. I like your jokes.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is one of those cases.
No. I got you.
This is just the NCAA being an NCAA.
So, but I mean, Auburn, before he started playing, a little up and down, not great. Since he started playing, they look pretty good to me. Like, I think this is a pretty scary game for Missouri. I saw Auburn's actually favored by 2.5 points.
Yeah, this to me, I mean, if Missouri is it's the underdog here, although in my mind, it's not that way. I mean, Missouri's, what are they ranked? 12, 13, 14,
12th,
somewhere in there?
Yeah, 10-2, the 12th in the country.
Very experienced ball club. I swear Tillman's been playing at Missouri for at least 6 years, probably more like 8.
This is his 11th season. Yeah,
they need to look into this a little bit. I mean, if Chivas comes out, I'm really going to have questions because they started together. Very experienced team, and I'm a big believer in Kanzo Martin. I think I liked him when he was a player, and I think he's a really good coach. BP, he kind of offers like fake praise for a lot of people, but with Kanzo, it's legitimate praise. He thinks a lot of Kanzo Martin, and he should. So to me, I feel like Auburn should be like a 6 or 7 point dog here instead of 2-point favorite. But I think the reason that is that Auburn plays great. Like you mentioned with Sharif Cooper playing point guard, they're really good. They've only lost 1 game with him playing, which was at Arkansas last week. A team that just got a little bit too much for Auburn. But the first time Auburn played them, they lost by 14. Auburn did. This last time it was, I think, 2 or 1. So Auburn making progress, and I think they're going to give Missouri a good game tonight.
I think Missouri just played at Tennessee. It was like this big game, huge win, biggest win in like 8 years, and like they didn't even go home. They went straight to Auburn, or they went to Atlanta and then to Auburn. I think this is kind of a second game of I see this as a game Missouri fans look at and think they should win that I think they're probably not going to win.
If I had to pick, I would say Auburn wins this basketball game. I love the way they've been playing, and it just seems right for what I would consider an upset, although Vegas would not see it as an upset. But
we had
I like Missouri a lot.
I noticed some slander going on in our comments. Someone said that they believed your hair game was below that of Mitchell Forty, who is going to be on the show later. I want to offer you a chance for a rebuttal.
That is to say that it is below that?
It is below Mitchell's. Mitchell's hair game is better than yours, they said.
Well, first of all, Mitchell is, 25 years younger than me?
He turns, I believe, 26 today. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm 48, so 22 years. And he does have quite a coif. I mean, he's got the height, and he's got coloring.
It's all one color, though.
I know. I was going to say, I feel like the fact that I color makes me more of a badass, but, some people may see it differently. That's fine. Look, man, I mean, the bottom line is, in the 80s, my mom colored my hair for me because that's what people did. I wanted to be a rock star. I actually have pictures of me in a guitar, even though I couldn't play. And bringing it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Your mom colored your hair for real?
She did, yeah.
That was nice of her.
Yeah, if you know my mom, which you don't, but if you did, it's just good to let her do some things like that, yeah.
Okay.
Keeps her from doing other things that would be less useful.
Good deal. So what's your story tonight? Are you going to be going live, hanging out with your people after the game? Is that what you do?
I don't. I mean, these 8 o'clock tips, I just think it's too late. It means we would start the show at 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern. That's just too late. So we skip these late tips, really midweek. Auburn's going to play Baylor. That's going to be fun.
Oh, man.
On Saturday at 3. So we'll do a show after that. And we have some awesome basketball fans at auburnsports.com, and they are so reasonable and rational. It's wonderful to be around them. They're kind of different than the football fans, although some of them are the same.
Wait, is that – are you being serious?
No, I'm being totally serious. When Auburn started 0-4 in the SEC, I mean, literally not one person was pissed about it. They were all just like, trusting in Bruce, this team's going to kick ass soon. And sure enough, they came around. But, yeah, 0-4 in football, I mean, things would be wrecked. Couches would be burned. In basketball, they all kept their head, and they knew better things were coming. And so that's the kind of folks that we've got as far as basketball goes.
Well, and like you have to have a way bigger basketball fan base than, say, even 3 or 4 years ago, right? The Final Four run and everything, and Bruce has kind of ignited that, right? I mean, I know back in the day Auburn has some basketball history, but it was a little dry there for quite a while.
Oh, it was real dry. Yeah, with Lebo was kind of barely okay, and then Tony Barbie. We don't really like to talk about him. We just call him Kentucky's defensive coordinator, and also expert golfer. He was terrible. They were really bad. They were the worst team in the league. It was them and Mississippi State. So, and Auburn would lose to Mississippi State a lot. So there you go. And Bruce, I think early on people were really happy with Bruce, but it was like the team was still middling, and they were like, whatever. But yeah, the Final Four season and the build up to that really put a lot of people on board. But you know, auburnsports.com, probably same for the Power of Mizzou. I mean, we get the really involved fans, which is what we love. And so those people knew all along, and they've been with us. So I have nothing but great things to say about our basketball fans. They are smart, they're reasonable, and they trust in Bruce.
Yeah, that was a fun team to watch. How similar is this team like? Because I'm gonna be honest, man, I haven't watched Auburn play really. I don't know about you. I don't spend a ton of time sitting around watching college basketball games really these days, except the ones I need to. So like, does this team play kind of that same style, or is it different? You know,
yeah,
running and shooting a lot of threes, or no?
It's quite a bit different, yeah. I mean, in big ways and small ways. That team in 2019, that was a three-point shooting team.
Right.
Jared Harper was really good at the point guard. Their shooting guard was Bryce. He was really good shooting guard. His three-point percentage was 40-ish or higher. Chumo Kiki was their power forward / he could do some center. He was a 40% three-point shooter. I mean, everybody could shoot. This team, they really have just one dude who's a good three-point shooter, and that's Al Flanagan. Justin Powell's a good one, too, but he's been out for 4.5 games now with a weird concussion. He kind of got elbowed in the back of the head by a teammate, like right here in the back of his head, and he hasn't been able to practice or do anything since then. It's kind of weird and scary in a way, and they miss him. He is, I think, one of the SEC's great shooters right now as a true freshman. He was at 44% from three when he went down, so they really miss him. And so this team goes about things a little differently. This team blocks a lot of shots, gets in transition, gets up high. This is definitely Lob City now that Sharif's going. Mm-hmm. And so it's more of a transition-y team, two-point shooting team versus a three-point shooting team from before.
So now that Missouri's been playing good, it's been Tillman, you know, the 11th-year senior, who, as one of our chatters points out, in theory could come back next year for year number 12. You know, he's been averaging like 19 and 9 over the last 5 games. He's like a traditional center. I mean, does Auburn have like a 6'10" dude that probably matches up with him?
They don't have any traditional centers like they had on Austin Wiley last year and the years before that, but they have some big dudes. Yeah, particularly one to watch will be number 44, Dylan Cardwell. Who's one of my favorite players on the team. He's just a big dude, and I think that he has the physical ability to repel Tillman to some degree. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be the threat on the scoring end that you would expect from a big guy, but yeah, I think he can bump and bang with Tillman and slow him down a little bit. They've got another, I guess he's a sophomore now, Babatunde Akingbola. They call him Stretch.
Wow.
And he's a pretty good defensive player. It's just that he lunges a little bit, and I think Tillman will have the savvy to get him in foul trouble if needed, but Dylan Cardwell might be a different story. It's going to be I'm interested to see this because typically this team doesn't do super well with big guys like that.
That dude's name, which I'm not going to try to pronounce. Like, do you type it or do you just call him something else?
You talking about Babatunde Akimola?
Yeah, that guy.
Everybody just calls him Stretch.
Okay, so you never actually type out his name, like if you're posting or something.
I usually do. Yeah,
well, I'm impressed.
Sorry.
I probably wouldn't do that.
You need to call him like John or Buddy.
Yeah, see, I like covering Missouri because everybody on the team's just named Smith, so I can just I can type Smith. I'm pretty safe. Sometimes I have to type like a first name, but you know.
What about Coach Kanzo?
Kanzo, that one, my phone, my keyboard now recognized, so I never misspell it.
Okay, I got you.
So I'm good. Yeah, but
my misspelling is always helmet. I always spell it helmet. I don't know why.
Is that a word? I don't think it is.
Helmet is not a word. No, Helment.
Yeah, that's
yeah, I don't know why. I just have this weird mental thing where I just type it in and go wrong word.
There you go. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you hanging out with us.
Hey, before I go, what's your favorite ZZ Top song?
Dude, I don't.
You celebrate
I'm not
catalog?
really a music guy.
Yeah,
it's not my thing. I was never ZZ Top was never. I think that was a little because I was probably like 8 when they were cool. I was a little old or young for that.
Okay, so you've never heard of the Beatles because they broke up before you were born?
No, I know them. They're good, but ZZ Top was never really in my genre.
Oh, because your genre is good music. Okay.
No,
it's not good music. You listen to trash.
I listened to a lot of country music in high school. How do you feel about that?
Why don't you tell your listeners that you love Celine Dion? Why don't you just tell them right now?
Well, that's actually when you go. This actually is just going to be a bunch of Celine Dion videos. I've got them preloaded.
She's very thin now. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Was there a time she wasn't?
She used to be fairly thin, and now she's really thin.
Okay.
She doesn't have a lot of school mom qualities. So no dice for me.
Well, we will spend the next 35 minutes Googling pictures of Celine Dion and playing her videos. So it's going to be a hell of a show.
Do Summer Sanders instead. It's way more appetizing.
Yeah, we should. People were complaining that we don't do live G-Pits anymore. So the episode's done, right? Like it's out.
Oh, absolutely. You should know that, Gabe.
I know I should. I knew that. I knew that, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah, I just you're the pitch man, so I just wanted to give you the chance to pitch it. So, all right, well, hey, we got a couple other things we got to do before 8:00. So appreciate it, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Shout out to all my friends at Power Mizzou. I love you guys.
All right, try to let me know if you just want me to Skype you tomorrow and just say hey.
Okay, I'm available.
All right, have a good one, Jay.
Bye.
See you, man. All right, that is our friend JG Tate from auburnsports.com. Certainly one of my best friends in the Rivals Network, does a good job covering the Tigers from that part of the SEC. That would be Auburn, Alabama. So appreciate Jay stopping by, giving you guys a little information on Auburn. A lot of you guys here probably already knew that information because you're Auburn fans. But hey, for the Missouri fans here, you learned a little bit about Auburn. For the Auburn fans here, you got to see your guys. So it's a win-win situation. Missouri and Auburn, again, 35 minutes away on ESPN2. Coming up, Jay said he'd pick Auburn to win. I think, honestly, I would pick Auburn to win if I was being truthful about the whole thing. The way this one sets up, I think it favors Auburn. Now, it's interesting. Jay's talking about Auburn liking to get out and run a little bit. That fits Missouri. Missouri does well when they play a team that wants to do that. They have a little bit tougher time when they play a team that wants to settle into half court and slow things down all the time. Missouri, I think, had only like 10 fast break points against Tennessee, but they got out and ran at certain times. Game before that against South Carolina, they had 20 fast break points. That's huge. Jeremiah Tillman has been playing well. Xavier Pinson had 27 points, and then oddly, the guy that was SEC Player of the Week, Drew Smith. So Missouri's got 3 guys playing pretty well right now. And Auburn has Sharif Cooper, Alan Flanagan, Jalen Williams, all in double figures. Scored 109 points on Saturday against South Carolina, 109-86. I think this should be a fun game. Both these teams are entertaining to watch, and it should be, I think, entertaining basketball. I think the winner is probably going to be close to 80 points. I know Auburn is averaging 80.6 in SEC play. Missouri has not allowed anybody to score 80 points in the last 19 games. So it's going to be interesting. Canoe Man, appreciate you coming on here, hanging out with Jay, man, giving us the super chat. That is certainly much appreciated. And I know earlier while we were in the middle, I didn't have anywhere to put it up on the screen, but I want to make sure to do that now. That Love the Cats tossed us a little super chat too. So thanks you guys definitely for hanging out. You're always welcome here, man. We like the Auburn people. They've always been cool to us. It's like there's no rivalry between Missouri and Auburn. They play every now and then. Sometimes Auburn wins a football game and the Missouri football coach lights the game plan on fire and goes on a rant about the program, and that's kind of cool. But other than that, there's no huge crazy rivalry between these teams. But here's what we're going to do so we can make sure to get to Mitchell in time at about 7:45. I am going to now play our interview with Mizzou assistant coach Chris Hollander, who did the media appearance from the Tigers hotel room in Atlanta. Because I just got this thing going, I'm going to have to fast forward for a minute in the video. So you're going to have to stick with me. It's not immediately going to be at the right place. You're going to have to give me just a second. But it won't take me very long because I know exactly when Hollander starts. So there might be a couple second glitch here at the beginning of the video. But here we got Chris Hollander for about 15 minutes talking about Mizzou as they come off the win over Tennessee and head to Auburn. Yeah, Chris, when you look at Auburn since Sharif Cooper's been in the lineup, what do you see? And do you spend much time looking at games before they had him, or is this a totally different team?
Well, they won 3 out of their last 4. Obviously, he's made a huge difference, and I think they played the majority of their games before him without a point guard. I know Alan Flanagan had filled that role for him, and for him, being traditionally a 2 or even a 3 coming up and as a young guy, I think they were kind of all trying to figure it out, and there were games where you could tell that they, before Sharif came, that they were, trying to figure it out without a true point guard. And now that Sharif has come and played, and they're playing a lot better than they did because he fills that void for them. But no, I really haven't gone back and watched any of the film beforehand. He controls a lot of the game. He's got the ball in his hands a lot, and everything starts and a lot of 70% of the time it may finish with him. So really don't spend a lot of time watching those games where he didn't play, and a totally different looking team with him on the floor.
Mitch.
Hey, Chris, I know one thing that Sharif Cooper's done really well is get to the free throw line. I guess what does he do so well to do that? And what's kind of, the instruction to, the guys who might be guarding him on avoiding that?
Well, again, like I said before, he controls the game, and they want him to have the ball in his hands from the time the ball goes in the basket or there's a miss. There may be a couple guys that will bring it up offensively, but he's got the ball in his hands a lot of the time. And what he does is he starts to play, makes people better around him, or he'll finish the play. And like you said, he gets to the foul line off a lot because he really does try to absorb a lot of contact on his penetration, does a great job of finding gaps and finding little seams, not afraid to get hit, not afraid to continue his drives downhill, and puts a lot of pressure on your defense because he's really never done when he's got the basketball. So a very smart player, an excellent passer, especially with his left hand, which is, I don't know if you've been able to notice that as games you've seen, but for a right-handed guy, he's exceptional with his left hand and unselfish. A guy like that, you can see he's averaging a lot of points, but, he really, really does a great job of finding his teammates at the right time, put them in place for good opportunities to score. So, but again, it goes back to the play starting with him being aggressive, and then as plays develop, if their offense isn't working, it gets back to him, and then the plays end with him. So I think it's a testament to his aggressiveness and transitions, aggressiveness at the beginning and end of plays for them offensively.
Dave Matter.
Hey, Chris, what's Kobe giving you guys right now? It just seems like he's really finding ways to impact the game in different ways and just coming into his own at that position.
I think that's it. I think what you said is exactly right. He's finding different ways to impact the game. Two really, really big offensive rebounds late in the game against Tennessee. His effort to do things without the basketball, specifically on energy and effort plays, offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, using his length and his size to guard good players on the other team. But again, it's just what you said. He's impacting the game in different ways other than just shooting and scoring. He's doing a great job and really embracing the role of going in there, being a big physical presence for us, playing really, really hard. I think that's one thing that's really, really changed for him is like he understands that playing hard at this level is a skill and it's a talent that he all of our guys have it. And you can see all of our guys playing extremely hard. But for him to go in there and do those things, especially late in that game against Tennessee, those two offensive rebounds were huge. And those were two huge energy plays, two huge winning plays that have impacted the game. And he's been doing that game after game here lately.
And Arnett.
Chris, have you guys been able to really feel the momentum within your group the last, since coming back from the break and these last two wins especially? It feels like you could really see an energy on the bench, especially on Saturday night.
Our guys are really good at just trying to do the next right thing, and, we had a long travel day on Sunday and went into the gym on Sunday night, and their energy and enthusiasm was awesome. And so our guys have really been resilient. They've really done a good job of just coming in every day, being businesslike, win or lose, no matter what's going on around them. They've really had blinders on, to be quite honest with you. And they come in and they want to learn. They take every word the coach is saying and they're hanging on it and trying to execute as best they can. And you can feel a sense of poise, maybe a sense of maturity, more so than in the last couple of years where guys were trying to figure out their roles. We've had some injuries, all those things. But I think our guys are really, really locked into, hey, this is the next task at hand, whether it's film, whether it's walkthrough, whether it's practice, whether it's a game. We're going to go out and try to do the next right thing, the next best thing as hard as we can. And that's really the sense that I get. I think there's a calm, quiet confidence and energy coming from our guys right now. And you can feel it game after game where someone else is stepping up and stepping into a role of scoring or rebounding or leadership or whatever. And I think that there is a nice poise and a nice way about our guys.
Eric.
Hey, Chris, thanks for hopping on with us tonight. When you kind of look at what, obviously Sharif's getting a lot of attention, deservedly so, but, you guys have faced some quality players before. I mean, I think Iowa scored 36 against you guys, but those are two different teams and different players, but you guys still ended up winning that game despite that offensive performance. How do you balance what Sharif can do with the other guys? I mean, JT Thor's playing well for them right now. How do you kind of balance those two things at the same time?
Yeah, I think they got a lot of guys that have really kind of stepped up for him. Sharif obviously has come in and given them a different look for the entire team, and he's helped everybody else get better. But throughout the course of the year, Alan Flanagan's been statistically, and obviously his minutes have gone up in a different role from last year's team, but he's got to be considered one of the best, most improved guys in our league from last year as well. So they got a lot of guys that shoot threes. They got a lot of guys that get open threes because Cooper puts them in position to get open threes because of his ability to get downhill and to get to the paint. So I think they obviously he is getting a lot of attention, and he's getting a lot of attention nationally. And when you watch the games, they talk about it, but there's a lot of guys on their team that are doing a lot of good things, and a lot of guys that are stepping up into big roles for him. Again, like I said, Alan Flanagan, was averaged 3 points a game last year. Now he's averaging 14. So, I mean, it's not just Sharif. It's a new team. It's a new look. And the last really 5-6 games, it's a whole new look for a new team. So, we got to do a great job on all of them.
Yeah, Chris, when you're going through your ball screen coverages for covering a guy like Sharif, there's a lot of good point guards in this league. Is what you guys plan to do usually a standard with a guy like Sharif, or do you have to try to do something extra to slow him down any way you can?
I think, ball screen coverage, you go into a lot of games like, okay, for example, like we go against Tennessee, and this is what makes, college basketball really unique is you go against Tennessee, and Tennessee's a team that doesn't run a lot of ball screens. So your whole game plan is geared towards chasing guys off screens. You got guys going this way, multiple cuts, cutting hard. They'll have some post stuff. And now, 2 days later, you got to downshift and you got to go into a game where you're going to have to guard 60 ball screens, right? And we talked about that last night as a team. And but for the most part, our ball screen coverage is what it is, and we'll make a lot of adjustments as the game, going into the game, and then obviously as the game goes on, you'll have to make some adjustments. But our game plan will stay. We'll have specific things, and we'll cover it a few different ways, but for the most part, we've been pretty consistent all year.
Dave, do you have anything?
Yeah, Chris, you talk about the maturity of this team. Do you feel like because they're so experienced, they're past the point of you guys having to say to them, hey, forget Saturday, big win and all that, but it's time to, or do you still have to concentrate on kind of getting their feet back on the ground?
I think our guys, back to my point earlier, I think our guys have really shown that they can come into the next day of practice, whatever the next thing is, whether it's post game, whether it's practice film, whatever, that they can concentrate. They can go from the moment that they were in, enjoy that moment when they had the moment, and understand that we're getting on the bus and we're going to do something next. And so yes, I think our guys are able to enjoy the moment, embrace that moment, understand why they were successful or they didn't have success, and then go to the next thing and do as best they can the next thing they have in front of them. And it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot of reminding. It doesn't take, because our seniors and the guys that have been through it do a lot of that themselves. And there's a lot of leadership there from the older guys. And when I say older guys, that doesn't mean seniors. I mean guys that have been in the program for a year, that everybody understands what's next and how important each possession is, how important each walkthrough is, how important each practice is, each rep of shooting. And I think that's maturity. And I see that with this team.
Andrew Kaufman.
Hey, how's it going, Coach? So, Coach Martin after the Tennessee game said a top 10 team won that game. And then the rankings came out today and you guys were ranked number 12. I'm curious, do you guys have a chip on your shoulder, you think, because do you guys feel like maybe that the rankings aren't what you guys expect to be?
I don't think our guys really get hung up on that. I think they're proud of what they accomplished. I think they're proud of what they accomplished Saturday. I think they're proud of what they accomplished last week. I think they're proud of the accomplishments early in the year when we went on the road and won at Wichita. And I think that they're proud of the way they bounced back from tough losses. And I don't think our guys hang on anything that anybody says, to be honest with you. I think they're walking around with blinders on, and I think that they're focused on, when I was at Army, they call it the 50-meter target. So whatever the target is right in front of them, it's not the target that's behind them. It's not the target downrange. It's the target that's right in front of them. And so to answer your question, I don't think our guys are hung up on that. I think they're hung up on going into practice tonight and having a great practice and getting prepared to win a ball game.
Sweetie.
Hey, Chris, I remember Jeremiah telling us after the Bradley game that ahead of his free throw, he was just saying routine. And I'm just wondering what is it about Jeremiah this year and just kind of the mental aspect of the game. Now he's kind of calmed down, it seems, out there.
Yeah, Jeremiah's doing great. Jeremiah has a lot of trust in the process. He's really embraced the process, and it's really showing up this year. I think there's a nice calm poise about him. I gave an example the other day of, somebody asked me the other day, said, what do you mean things don't rattle, Jeremiah? And I said, well, we were playing in a game on the road earlier this year, and Jeremiah got two hands shoved into a ball screen. He got called for an offensive foul, and he just walked down the floor, went and just ready to play defense, and there was nothing. And so I feel a calmness. I think everybody feels a calmness from Jeremiah, a poise, confidence. And I think that just comes with finally, trusting the process that he's in his journey that he's been on, and just quietly taking care of business every day.
Got time for one or two more so we get the players in before we hit the bus. Mitch?
Yeah, I also had a question about Jeremiah and specifically his rebounding. I think that one area where, the numbers have really gone up this season, aside from the stuff you already mentioned, I guess what's really gone into him improving so much as a rebounder?
That's a great question. I think, he's made a really conscious effort on the offensive glass. I think that he's done a really good job of chasing balls outside of his area. Guys that can rebound the basketball outside of where they're standing make guys elite rebounders. And when Jeremiah goes to the glass and he goes outside of his area and there's a contest for the ball, very rarely is he not going to come down with it. And I think really he's made a more conscious effort on the offensive glass, which has really probably sparked his defensive rebounding as well. And then just making sure that he goes every time, which in turn on the defensive end has helped him go chase rebounds as well. So I just think probably it's there's been maybe more of an emphasis on, trying to chase balls outside of his area and concentrating on that part of the offensive rebounding game.
All right, last one. Eric, did you have another one?
Yes, I did. Chris, do you see Coach Kanzo doing anything specifically different this season than he did in previous years? And regardless of that answer, how would you define Kanzo's style of leadership? You mentioned the team's maturity. How would you define it for Kanzo?
To answer your question, no. I don't think there's been anything different. It's a poised, high character, lead by example, say what you mean, mean what you say, and it's every day. It's everyday leadership. And he doesn't just preach it to our guys and to our staff. He lives it. He lives it within our program. He lives it outside of our program. He's a role model for all of us. And anything and everything that he does is about helping and doing what's best for our guys in the program. And he is the perfect example of what all college basketball coaches should be, in my opinion.
Great.
All right, that is Mizzou assistant Chris Hollander, who joined us yesterday from Mizzou's team hotel in Atlanta. Like I said, they went from Knoxville down to Auburn, I believe, had a stop off in Atlanta. They went and saw the Civil Rights Museum and some things yesterday as a team, and then obviously got to Auburn yesterday, had a walkthrough and all that over at the arena, and hey, they're going to play a basketball game here in about 16 minutes. It's going to be on ESPN2, Mizzou and Auburn. Mizzou comes in 10-2. They've won 3 in a row. First time they've won 3 games in a row in the Southeastern Conference since Kanzo Martin's first year, 2017-2018. Auburn is 3-5 in the SEC, but that's after an 0-4 start. They've won 3 out of the last 4, playing much better with Sharif Cooper in the lineup. Auburn a 2.5-point favorite. Hey, want to get you guys updates on a couple kind of programming notes here. It's what we do now. We're a multimedia conglomeration or something along those lines. So after the game tips at 8. We'll go watch that. Mitchell Forty, he's coming up here in a minute. He'll have your coverage on the site, on the message board during the game. Afterwards, we'll hop on Kanzo Martin's call. I'll record that. I'll upload it to my computer, and immediately after that, we'll start the post-game show. My guess is 10:30, 10:45, something like that. Shooting for 10:30. That's my hope, but we'll see. It all depends on how long the game lasts and when Kanzo gets done. We'll hang out with you guys, talk about the game a little bit, take some calls, all that. For however long you want to. I know it's going to be 10:30 on a Tuesday night, so these shows afterwards tend to be a little bit shorter. But then tomorrow night, you're going to want to tune in, and that's why while you're here, subscribe to our YouTube channel. The reason you want to do that, you can set notifications for when we go live. You're always going to know. So tomorrow night on the 573 Report, which is the show Mitch and I do every Wednesday night, we're going to have Mizzou head football coach Eli Drinkwitz joining us. He's going to hang out with us through the magic of technology for a little while. We're going to certainly open it up to you guys to ask questions of Coach and to comment and say things. We will obviously moderate it, but Eli Drinkwitz will be with us for a while on the show tomorrow night. We're shooting for 15, 20 minutes, but hey, if Coach will hang out with us longer, we'll go longer. If he has to go, we'll let him go, whatever it is. But hoping he can hang out with us for 20 minutes or so and just talk a little bit about his program, his new hires, whatever you guys want to talk about. So set a reminder, subscribe to the channel, set a reminder. 7:30 tomorrow night, Eli Drinkwitz going to join Mitchell Forty and myself. And speaking of Mitchell Forty, I'm actually going to call him right now so that we can continue this phenomenal presentation with him on the show. Mitch, what's up, man? How's everything going?
It's going good.
Okay, there you were frozen
Can
for
you
a
hear me?
second. Yeah, you were frozen for a second, but you're here now, so that's good.
Okay.
We had Jay Tate on the show to start.
Good.
You got a nice compliment that you have a better hair game than Jay Tate, so that's the highest compliment I can imagine to
Wow,
pay
that
someone.
is a compliment, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Jay Tate's hair, I mean, like, his hair game's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, look, they're all pretty good to me, right? I mean, nobody's ever accused me of having a good hair game, but so I don't know. I kind of look at this game. I saw you picked Missouri 78-76 in the prediction. I think this is a game Missouri fans think they should win and maybe win without a lot of trouble. This one's I don't feel great about this one. The setup of this one I think is tough for Missouri.
Yeah, I just think, I don't know that it's so much of a, a matchup issue or a talent issue. Like Missouri should be the better team, as I think it is, like you said, just kind of a situational issue where, you're coming off of a really big win. They didn't have a chance to go back to Columbia. You're coming in against a team that likes to get up and down. There might be some fatigue there, and they probably can't afford to get off to a really slow start because Auburn can put up points. So, I mean, anytime you've got a back-to-back road games like this, and especially a night game on Saturday and do a road game on Tuesday, it's going to be a tough setup no matter who you're playing.
Yeah, that was more of. I mean, I think Auburn's playing better, but that's more of the reason that I think Auburn's really dangerous here is just kind of the situation with Missouri. And also, I mean, look, they're 20-year-old kids, and there's not really a lot of overstating how big that win on Saturday was. I think it's when college teams win a game like that, I think they tend to kind of go into the next one thinking they're really good. And I know, Chris Hollander, we just played his interview, said, he's not worried about that with this team. But what's he going to say? Yeah, I think it's a big concern. I'd worry about it a little
right.
bit.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we saw, earlier this season when Missouri got into, the top 15 or whatever, they came out and played pretty bad against Tennessee. So,
right.
I mean, it's just human nature, I think, in part to buy into your own hype, read a little bit of your own press clippings. And like, I'm sure they, there was legitimate reason to be excited after the last win, but it's hard to make, 18, 20, 21-year-old kids kind of put that aside quickly.
Right. I did notice, speaking of which, that Kentucky and Alabama are in a heck of a game right now. 1-point game last I looked. So if anybody can catch Alabama in this league, I think it's Missouri. I mean, I don't know if they will, but Missouri's really the only one
Probably
that I think
so,
has
yeah.
a good shot.
Right. Well, Missouri has the chance to play them again, and they only play once, and I believe it's at Columbia, in Columbia, a week from Saturday. So, like Missouri could get a tiebreaker. They're like Tennessee, and they're struggling. I think the last I saw they were on a point to Mississippi State, but they maybe could get close to Alabama for winning percentage point, but they already lost to them. So yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I think I think Missouri, if any team is going to catch Alabama, would, but I think Alabama's due to have a loss or two, but I don't see anyone catching them in the SEC at this point.
Right, that's the problem, because even if they have a loss or two, then somebody else has to have like no losses the rest of the way to make up the ground. So Missouri's a tough team to describe, because you're talking about how Auburn wants to get out and run, they're athletic and all that, and Missouri, we talk a lot about how they get out and run and how important that is, but also at the same time, like, they're not a team that's playing 90 to 86 games. Auburn just gave up 86 points and won that game by 23. They're averaging 81 a game, I think, in SEC play. Missouri hadn't given up 80 points in 20 games. So Missouri, I think, wants to run with them, but I'm not sure they want to run quite the way Auburn wants to run.
Yeah, I think you're right. Auburn plays at a pretty fast pace, and now Missouri's done well against teams like that this season. South Carolina and Arkansas both play at faster paces than Auburn, and Missouri did a good job of taking advantage of the opportunities that naturally presented, while also not, letting the game become a total track meet. That Arkansas game was pretty fast paced. It just helped that Arkansas literally couldn't make anything, but I think Missouri needs to, you can't get sped up. You can't get to the point where you're pressing, I think Auburn will look to, try to speed them up and create turnovers. I think you just you take advantage to run when the opportunity is there, but you're also okay, trusting your half court offense and Jeremiah Tillman.
Yeah, this is the kind of game where Xavier Pinson could look incredible and score another 27 points. It's also the kind of game where he could just go way too fast and have 8 turnovers. And I'm not sure which one to expect.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can't ignore the fact of, Sharif Cooper's from the Chicago area, I think at least. And he and Pinson are kind of similar playing styles. They're going to be matched up at times. Like, I think there's probably an element of competitiveness there. And Pinson has shown some maturity this season for sure. I mean, the ability to come off of those 2 games where he didn't play very well and sat on the bench a fair amount and, do what he did against Tennessee is probably not something we see from him his freshman and sophomore year. But, I mean, in a game where it's going to be fast paced, in a game where he's going to have a guy like Sharif Cooper to kind of duel with, you do wonder if that could be a really good thing. It could also be kind of a bad thing, and that's where I think it is nice that Missouri has a guy like Drew Buggs this year to put in and let him kind of go, maybe not explosive, but a lot less turnover prone if Pinson is struggling.
I find it pretty interesting too. I mean, Jeremiah Tillman's on this ridiculous hot streak. Pinson scores 27 in the last game, and it's Drew Smith, just kind of steady guy that's the SEC Player of the Week.
Yeah, he was not the best player in either game, but can't argue with averaging 17 points and I think 4 rebounds across the 2 games. Tillman was the guy in the first one, Pinson was the guy in the second one, but Drew Smith's he's been really solid ever since Missouri came back from that COVID break. And at this point, I do kind of feel like I think health was a little bit of a factor for him. I also think what the coaches have said with him looking to be more assertive on offense has helped as well.
Right. I mean, Kanzo said after the last game, I don't know, he just wasn't shooting. I don't really know why, but now he's shooting. But
yeah.
Also, I think sometimes those awards tend to be, hey, if there's not some guy that scored 38, like Missouri had a really good week. Let's find somebody from Missouri. Right. Which I'm not saying Drew didn't deserve it, but it's just interesting that he wasn't the best player in either game, but he was the guy that got it. So, yeah. I don't really know like a key in this one. I mean, I guess it's the point guard matchup, right? If Pinson can, I don't want to say necessarily equal Sharif Cooper because I don't know if I expect Pinson to have 22 and 9 assists exactly. But if he can kind of, counterbalance him, I think Missouri's supporting cast might be a little bit better.
Yeah, I think for Missouri, it's, just don't let Sharif Cooper take over and win the game. He's going to score some points. He's going to control the ball. He is capable of going for 30 and 10 or something like that and providing something that Missouri just doesn't have. And I think a big factor for Missouri is going to be not getting into foul trouble with him because he draws fouls really well. He could get Drew Smith into foul trouble. He could get Jeremiah Tillman into foul trouble. Obviously, those are 2 guys that, Missouri doesn't want to be without for an extended stretch of time. So I think, I think Missouri definitely, like you said, has the better depth. I think if I had to pick 2 keys, one is just, don't come out flat after everything we talked about. And 2, don't let Sharif Cooper totally take over the game and don't put him on the line too many times.
So if the key is staying out of foul trouble with him, if I'm Kanzo Martin, Drew Smith doesn't guard him. Like, I don't know if he's quick enough to do it, but even if he is, Drew Smith gets in foul trouble. I put Drew Smith on somebody else, and it's Pinson, it's Buggs. I don't know. He talks a lot about Mark Smith's defense, but it's anybody but Drew.
Yeah, see, it's a tough one because you also hear Kanzo talk about how Drew Smith is, maybe the best defender on the team and a guy who, gets it done at both ends and stuff like that. So, like, this is his chance to show that. Yeah. But also, it's how much do you trust him? Because the foul trouble has been constant or near constant, at least until these last few games. So I'll be curious to see what they do with that. I still kind of think Drew Smith will guard Cooper at least to start. That is my guess, but we will see.
Well, I mean, the most shocking thing would be for Kanzo to just come out in a 2-3 zone and play that all night. So I think that might make Kanzo physically ill on the sideline.
Yeah, that if he does that, we'll know he has COVID or something. He's lost his mind.
Right. He's been inhabited by aliens, and he's back in Columbia. So, all right, man. Well, tip off in like 4 minutes, so I'll let you run. I know you got stuff to do, and we'll catch up after the game.
Sounds good.
All right, Mitchell Forty. He will keep you updated on the message boards and the website all throughout the game. I will be here with you guys after the game. Once again, Kanzo Martin's Zoom call will occur, probably about 15 minutes after tip-off. I will record that. I will come back here. We always start the post-game show with Kanzo's post-game, and then we'll take your calls, take your comments, whatever, for a little while. I don't know. We generally budget about an hour for basketball post-game. Sometimes it's a little shorter. Tuesday night at 11:30. Who knows what it's going to be like? Probably depends a little bit what the game's like. But Mizzou and Auburn, again, 3 minutes away on ESPN2. There are some announcers on the call. I don't remember who they are. It's not John Sunvold. I know that. It is not Tom Hart. I know that. Those are the only two announcers I can really remember off the top of my head. I just know it's not them. I know Dane Bradshaw is on the call, actually. T-Roz, appreciate the super chat, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate all you guys who were here watching, chatting. Those of you who tossed a couple bucks our way, certainly we never asked for it, but we do appreciate it. We put time and effort into this and try to make it worth your time, so glad to know that a few of you find it to be so. Again, before you leave, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you subscribe to the channel, you're going to get a notification when we go live. The next time we're live is actually in about 3 hours after this basketball game. Next time after that, 7:30 tomorrow night on the 573 Report with Mizzou head football coach Eli Drinkwitz joining Mitchell and I. So that's going to be one that I hope you guys will enjoy. And we'll be here with you a lot over the next couple days. Mizzou and Auburn, tip coming up in 2 minutes, so enjoy the game. We'll catch you guys back here afterwards.